Welcome back. I'm Brooke.
And I'm Todd.
And this is Football Friday.
Cheers.
Cheers. Okay, so this week we're talking about forwards, right?
Yeah, let's not be too forward. Let's just talk about forwards. So what do you know about forwards?
I know that they're the ones that are typically going to score the ball and also typically make the most runs into the box.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Did you know that many years ago, teams used to play formations with 5 forwards?
5?
5 forwards, yeah.
God.
Back in the day, even before my time, they would have a center forward, and then they would have 2 inside forwards, and then they would have 2 outside forwards.
Jeez.
So, yeah, things have evolved.
Mm-hmm.
Now and depending on the team, sometimes they might play with 2 forwards or 3 or 1.
Yeah.
You never know. Or some kind of weird formation like the false 9.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's one of your favorite formations.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So, So I think maybe we can start talking a little bit about center forwards.
Okay.
Do you know anybody that's a center forward?
Mbappe is.
No. Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Is that what they classify
I think
him?
so, because
Okay.
he's always played in the center.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. It's kind of cool because it's kind of flexible now. I guess really. The Dutch came up with this total football concept.
Yeah.
And now it's not just like, oh, you're a forward, you got to stay up front. And so people kind of go everywhere, and the positions are much more fluid. And so Mbappe may be a center forward, but I see him a lot of times starting from the outside and working his way in.
Yeah.
So I almost think of him kind of more as like a winger or an outside forward.
Okay.
But he's got a lot of speed though,
Yeah.
and he's got and he's got that goal scoring ability. So definitely.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I had to because I'm wearing my Mbappe shirt.
All right. Good. Yeah. I mean, probably one of the most one of the more well-known players that we've seen play recently against Mbappe. Is probably one of the top 20 forwards of all time. It's a guy named Lewandowski.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you're maybe not so much a big fan because he's plays for Barcelona, but
I think he's a really great player, so I wouldn't say I'm not a fan just because of the team he plays for.
Okay, good. Yeah, or a guy like I don't know, Harry Kane maybe.
Yeah.
Is a pretty well known, maybe one of the top center forwards around, or maybe a guy like Holland. He's pretty big. Sometimes another term for a center forward. Sometimes people call them a target forward.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard that.
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I mean, so it's kind of oftentimes you might think of it as a big guy that's up in front in the middle who can use his size to.
Yeah, I mean Lewandowski's probably about as big as Courtois is, right?
No, I think Lewandowski's only about just 1.8, 1.9 meters tall. So
okay.
I think Courtois is over 2 meters.
So. Courtois is exactly 2 meters.
Oh, he's 2 meters. Okay.
But we'll talk about Courtois when we talk about keepers.
Okay.
But maybe there's just no one as big as him that plays football.
Oh, I mean, there's probably a few, but Holland is one of the taller ones. He's 1.94, but I think Lewandowski's a little shorter than him.
Okay.
But he's pretty good height. I mean Bellingham's
he's
close to
tall,
the same height as Lewandowski. But I think a lot of the well-known forwards are also a lot of the just well-known players of the game.
Yeah.
And they're really versatile. They can kind of play center forward or winger or because now they kind of call what used to be outside the outside forwards. They now kind of call them wingers, and they're almost sometimes referred to as midfielders as well. Sometimes as forwards. It's kind of versatile.
We also talked about that with defenders because wingers, that kind of comes into the same where the wing backs have become more like the wingers in the midfield, and I guess because they kind of merged with wingers from like being forwards.
Sure, yeah. So and with people playing a lot more I don't know, full field football, total football, and swapping positions and covering for each other. And actually, some teams will put together like strike groups of 2 or 3 or 4 players, and do kind of some plays based on that, and give and go or triangle type offenses. To really keep your opponent from knowing what to do. But the center forward a lot of times will even play with his back to the goal. So and one of the fun things is he's got to be able to do that, play with his back to the goal and see is he going to distribute the ball left or right, and he's going to have and he's going to be right behind him is probably one of the center backs or both, trying to prevent him from turning and shooting and scoring. So, it's funny. Recently, since we've been living in Switzerland, I've really come to like watching Xherdan Shaqiri play. And he's a winger, but I see he does play pretty well with his back to the goal too. And so he could swap into that center forward position sometimes as well, even though he's not tall. He's the same height as me.
He's short, but he's like big, like muscular, right?
And it's got to be really hard to get him off the ball. And he scored one of the most incredible shot goals I've seen. So he turned and fired that thing. And so what's up? So I'm a big fan, and he's back playing for FC Basel now.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think he just signed a 3. Yeah, we have to try to see if we can go watch him. He signed a 3-year contract. So
gosh, maybe we can meet him. Have him have Shaqiri come on the Football Friday.
Who knows? Maybe. So I think now too. So the inside forward, I think really nowadays is pretty common to consider a midfielder. They're kind of either the central midfielders or now. So so really we only think of the wingers and the center and the center forward now as forwards for the most part, but it's flexible depending on the game situation and who you're playing and what kind of defense they're throwing at you. And if you need to score goals, you push more people forward. Right? So also the forwards can be called attackers or strikers. So and a lot of times, I mean, some of the attributes are they've got to be ready to receive a pass, a long pass, and then and that first touch of the ball under control, or even the first touch turning into a shot, right? So they don't even control it; they just kick it directly in when it's passed across to them. Okay, so. So, who else? So I know Mbappe is one of your favorites. But I think you kind of enjoy watching Vinicius play.
Yes, I love watching Vini play.
So, he's pretty exciting out there as a forward. So.
He's very hot-headed. Like, he gets, like, really... I think he gets so focused on the game that, like, he... when other people are... Like, he gets really intense. So, other people,
and it's funny because we're watching a lot of Real Madrid games now. We're also seeing some of the forwards from some of the other teams. Like Lamine Yamal.
Yeah, I was about to say, what do you think about Lamine Yamal?
He's gonna be he's great already. I mean, he's only 17, I think. He's got an amazing shot. He did a fantastic. Scored a fantastic goal against Madrid where he just basically put the ball in the opposite direction of his momentum. So that was pretty cool. Good touch. He's got good control and a good hard shot too. So
I also love watching Rodrigo play. I think he's he always seems to know where the ball is, and he's really good at following it through. And even though he hasn't had as many minutes as some of the other forwards, but in the time that he's had more time to play, he's scored 3 or 4 goals.
Cool.
And I think in the last 2 games he's scored 4.
Could be.
Something like that, yeah.
Cool, cool. Yeah. So I mean, that's amazing. But also the funny thing is most people don't think about it. But forwards are very critical for defense because really they're your first line of defense, and sometimes teams will play a lot of pressure up front. So when the other team has the ball deep in their own end, if the forwards can go and attack and put pressure up high, then the ball never even gets into your own half. You don't have to worry too much about getting scored on, right?
Yeah.
Unless your goalie comes way out and somebody boots it from midfield over his head and so I think we saw something like that.
Something maybe.
In a recent game. That was in the women's game we watched.
Wait, sorry. What was it?
The women's game, the women's Real Madrid game that we watched the other day. The other when the other teams scored and won 1-0.
Yeah.
They caught the keeper out, right? She and the forward.
Oh yeah.
And she kicked it.
Her.
I mean, she was barely over midfield, and she did. And the keeper was out.
Yeah.
So if that's also something where you have a good foot and good control and can score from a long way out if you can trap the other keeper out. So. I also probably was thinking about one of the best forwards I've ever seen play. Actually comes from the Dutch total football transformation, Johan Cruyff. I actually have seen him in person play.
Really?
Yeah. So
you're that old?
I'm that old. Yes. When I was a kid growing up, we went to see the Washington Diplomats play. Okay. It was from the NASL, the North American Soccer League.
Yeah.
And he was playing for the Diplomats. I'm not old enough. I didn't actually see Pele play, but he also played in that league for the New York Cosmos.
Yeah. We looked this up the other day. A while ago.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember, not really understanding much of what I was seeing, but everybody saying, "Oh, this guy's great," and I probably saw him score. I don't really remember the details of the games. I just remember being there. And
just old enough to watch him play, but
I'm old enough to have forgotten everything that I saw when I was at back in the late 70s, early 80s. So. But everybody said, "Oh yeah, he's a great player." But I wouldn't have known other than it's fun to watch people out there kicking the ball around.
Yeah.
So, But yeah, I mean, most of the famous players that you can name are forwards. Think of Messi and Maradona and Ronaldo and I mean, probably the most famous player to all Americans is Pele. I mean, he's maybe. Because that's who at least my age who we heard of when I was growing up. So, but yeah, I mean, and now I'm just thinking about one of my favorite American forwards is a winger, Landon Donovan.
Okay, I don't know who that is.
Okay, yeah, he played on the U.S. national team when I was 20, 30 years ago. So, or Mia Hamm. So.
Yeah, I do. I haven't seen Mia Hamm play, but I know. Well, Ren was a huge Mia Hamm fan, right? So.
Probably. I mean, she was probably made American football on the women's side famous because she was so good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay, so all-time favorite forward.
I mean, that's a tough one. All-time favorite forward. I would have to say it's a tie between Sheridan Shaqiri, Lyndon Donovan, Mia Hamm, and Johan Cruyff. So, but I kind of like Lamine Yamal now too. So we're getting there. So. Holland's pretty cool too. It's fun to see a big Viking play in the right in the middle.
He looks like a Viking too.
Yeah. So tough. Yeah. So is Mbappe your all-time favorite?
I don't think so actually.
Who's your all-time favorite?
That one's a tough one. I think either Ollie Watkins, who plays for the England national team, he also plays for Aston Villa.
Okay.
And Chloe Kelly, who plays for the England women's team, and she plays for Man City.
Okay.
She's really, really good, but I think she hasn't really gotten as many minutes as she had as she should. But when we watched her play, when England played against the U.S. women's team.
Yeah.
But I can't remember the name of one of the forwards on the U.S. women's team though that.
Okay.
We watched play that I was like, oh, she's really good too.
Yeah. I actually don't remember the names either because.
Alyssa Fox was a defender though, right? I was thinking it's Alex Morgan, right?
Probably.
Yeah, that's who I was thinking of.
Okay, good, good. Definitely.
Yeah.
Cool, cool. Well, good.
Yeah.
I think we should.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for listening to Football Friday, and don't forget to check out our regular weekly episodes of Wine Together. If you want to join the conversation, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok @WineTogetherPod.